Well, looks like spring is finally here. Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. My name is Kubeir and today's video is about a subject that has been bothering me a lot. I've seen quite a few posts. This has been the reason for refusals and rejections for a lot of applications out there. And so I thought let's discuss about this. Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's get to the core of it and explain to you why this is so important. What am I talking about? I'm talking about choice of NOCs, choice of your NOC code, choice of your occupation code, and how that affects your PR application. Stay tuned. Right, so what is an NOC? NOC stands for National Occupational Classification. This is the matrix database which has been defined by ESDC, which stands for Employment Social Development of Canada. So ESDC has defined various occupations under different 4-digit occupational codes, and this is what is NOC. Why is NOC so important? Well, so as you all know, your application is assessed under various factors, right? So you get points for age, education, work experience, language skills. Of this, your application is most under stress when it comes for assessment for your work experience, because that is one of the most critical factors, okay? So where in immigration law does this NOC classification or NOC assessment or work experience assessment appears? So first of all, it appears under Immigration Refugee Protection Act under section 10.3.1. This basically defines what will be the criteria for assessment of your application. This basically defines that the minister, which is the immigration minister or the immigration ministry, will issue instructions on how the assessment will happen. From there on, you need to check the ministerial instructions that define how the express entry application will be assessed. Let me show you where this appears on ARPA. Okay, we'll just go quickly through this. Okay, this is where it shows 10.3.1. As you can see, it says the minister may give instructions governing any matter relating to the application of this division, including instructions respecting, and if you go down here, it will tell you so you can refer back to this whenever you wish to. Now, from here on, let's come to the ministerial instructions. Now, in ministerial instructions, which is applicable to the assessment of express entry and federal skilled worker programs, let's quickly jump down to section 25.1, which talks about foreign work experience and the requirements of foreign work experience. So let's quickly read through what are the requirements for the ministerial instructions for assessment of your work experience. Here it says, in order to be assigned points under section 23 and 24, which you can read later, for their foreign work experience, a foreign national must specify in their expression of interest the 4-digit code in the National Occupational Classification that corresponds to each of the occupations they have engaged in while accumulating their foreign work experience. Okay? And B, must have performed the actions prescribed in the lead statement for the occupation as set out in the occupational description of the National Occupational Classification, as well as substantial number of main duties, including all essential duties as set out in the National Occupational Classifications. Now, I hope you understood that. No? Okay, let me take you through this again. What they're trying to say is that each NOC code under their heading will have a small summary. This is what the lead statement is. This lead statement will have certain actions which are described for that particular occupation. Like for example, let's quickly take the NOC 1111. Let me take you through this one. Now, under the heading of 1111, financial auditors and accountants, it clearly says financial auditors, accountants examine and analyze the accounting and financial records. Now, in this lead statement for financial auditors, examine and analyze become the activities in the lead statement. If you are an accountant, then it further goes on and talks about accountants plan, organize, and administer accounting systems for individuals and establishment. Therefore, the activities or the action points in this lead statement for accountants will become plan, organize, and administer. So in your reference letters, these activities must appear. Okay, this is a mandatory requirement. Okay, so that's the first aspect. The words need not be the same. I mean, you do not have to necessarily use plan, organize, and administer. You could be using different words which actually mean the same, which actually mean plan, organize, and administer in different ways. So you can paraphrase these words. In addition to that, under accountants, let's take accountants for example. Accountants, you will see there are several duties. Okay, now in your reference letters, you must have substantial number of these duties that match with what you have been performing, what you have been doing all this while. Okay, this is where the crux of this whole reference letter, this is where the crux of this entire assessment happens. What is the visa officer checking for? You see, now PR application is not subjective. There is no feelings and emotions of a visa officer involved when they're assessing a PR application. Those feelings and emotions are more involved when they are assessing a visit visa application, where they feel that you may not return back to your home country and therefore, they can refuse the application. But when it comes to a PR application, it is strictly based on the immigration law, which is IRPA and ARPA, and the Ministerial Instructions that I've just showed you. So what does the law say? The law states that the evidence of your work experience must exhibit that you have performed the activities that are mentioned in the lead statement. So I've showed you what those activities are. So your reference letter must include those activities. Second factor of those law requirements is that substantial number of duties that has been mentioned in the NOC matrix must have been performed by you. Again, where is the visa officer going to get this information from? From your reference letter. Therefore, your reference letter must include the lead statement activities, okay? Same words or same phrases, or obviously you can paraphrase those, or you can use different synonyms. In addition to that, substantial number. You see, now again, substantial is subjective. You could say 60%, you could say 70%, you could say 80%. I would usually recommend anything more than 65 to 75% of your duties must match with what has been mentioned on the NOC duties and responsibilities. In some cases that I have seen, certain reference letters that I have reviewed and I have checked, there is an ambiguity. Okay, now for example, again I'm going to take this particular example of NOC 1111. Certain duties are basically leaning towards matching NOC 1311. Okay, now NOC 1311 is for bookkeepers and accounting technicians, whereby their activities mainly are in posting the journal entries. Their activities is mainly in preparing the account statements. Their duties are mainly in putting together the entire ledger and P&L. Accountants, on the other hand, which is 1111, they will examine, they will analyze, they will plan. So this is more of a senior position over the accounting bookkeepers. Therefore, you must ensure that your reference letter is indicative of only one NOC. So you can choose either 1311 or 1111, depending on what your work experience is. Please do not make it ambiguous. Please do not make it confusing. Because if your reference letter is ambiguous, if your reference letter basically indicates more than one NOC, then you are leaving it open for discretion of the visa officer as to what the visa officer then thinks or feels the NOC is. That is where a big problem happens. I have also seen a lot of reference letters which are very generic in how they describe the duties. So one of the duties would say this person was responsible to manage the administration department. The second duty will say this person was also responsible to prepare the payroll of the staff. The third will say this person was responsible to increase the sales of the company. The fourth will say this person was responsible to manage the advertising budget. Now, what are you going to do with this kind of a reference letter? This is giving indications of 4 different NOCs to start with. So this kind of a reference letter is already a troublemaker for your application. So please take your reference letters very seriously. CIC does not have to ask you for additional documents if you have made a mistake in choosing your NOC. choosing an NOC, choosing a correct NOC is very, very crucial for your application. Mismatch of NOC, so basically you have chosen NOC 1311, but your reference letter is indicative of all your duties as 1141, or it is ambiguous and the visa officer feels that it is inclining more towards 1141. This could smell trouble for your application, and before you know it, you will get a refusal. Mind you, CIC does not need to ask you for additional documents. CIC does not need to ask you for clarification. CIC does not need to ask you for a new reference letter to sort of clarify these doubts. It is your responsibility to provide the correct documents. It is your responsibility to choose the correct NOC. Also, once you have submitted your application, you cannot go back and ask for change of NOC if you later realize that you have made an error or you made a mistake in choosing your NOC. You can't do that. Yes, sometimes you can provide additional documentation or new reference letters in order to sort of, if you already made a mistake and not given a proper reference letter, sometimes you can provide a new letter and which is more indicative of your chosen NOC. But it is CIC's discretion to accept the new letter or not, because you were supposed to have provided it in the first place with your application. So when you leave it open to discretion, when you leave it open for their interpretation, when you leave it open for how they can interpret it, then it is always going to be dicey. So my recommendation, please take time in choosing your NOC. Your NOC is always chosen based on matching job roles and responsibilities. It is never chosen based on your job title. Job titles are irrelevant. You can also skip everything that is mentioned in the employment requirements in an NOC. Don't worry if you haven't really attended or you haven't really got a degree or diploma in certain qualifications that the NOC is indicative of. Those are not relevant as far as the assessment of your NOC goes, as far as the assessment of your application goes. CIC is not going to consider those. They may be a requirement for certain provincial nominee programs, but as far as the express entry is concerned, as far as the federal skilled worker program is concerned, the employment requirements in an NOC will not be considered. So please choose your NOC carefully. Please make sure your reference letter is absolutely indicative of the NOC that you have chosen, and then you will have absolutely no problem in getting your application processed quickly and smoothly. There will be no review required, and that's what you want, right? Well, I hope this has clarified your doubts. I hope this has clarified any confusion you might have had as to how you can design your or draft your reference letters based on the NOCs. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. If you thought this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up. Okay, share it with your friends. Maybe they are confused, maybe they are not aware of how this can be done. This will help them as well. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
If you're looking to make Canada your home, simply ask Kubeir.